Town Board meeting of Wednesday, August 27th, 2025. Would you be kind enough to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. For the Panda cameraman, if you'd be kind enough to pan over to the screen, please, so the folks watching the recording can see what we'll be discussing tonight. We have on the agenda a presentation of a project that we are excited about. Camp Rising Sun. Many of you are familiar with the property. It's owned by the August Jonas Foundation. It's off of Oriole Mills Road in the southern portion of the township. This is a WQIP project, much like the project over the Sawkill trails there. Winnicke Land Trust has applied to the state for funding to protect these sensitive lands alongside the Sawkill. And they once again would like to partner with the town to create some passive recreational trails and conservation easement. And so we're going to get an introduction to the project. It's not quite ready yet to be put up for a public hearing, but we have folks both from the foundation and from Winnicke Land Trust here with us tonight. So thank you very much for coming. We're going to show you all and the board members have seen some potential bridge designs. As you know, the Cookingham Trails, we have a Greenway grant to design the bridge crossing over into Rec Park. It's one of two small connections that are necessary to get from one village to the other, from the village of Red Hook to the village of Tivoli. So we're going to get to look at some designs, try and understand what the benefits of the various options are, and importantly, we'll be back with our engineer to take a look at some potential cost estimates for those bridges. We've been talking about the Bryan project. Speaking of WQIP, we did receive last year, I believe it was, $250,000 from the state for equipment to retreat the roads with Bryan. It's a way for us to save on the environmental impact and also on your tax dollars as well. So we'll be talking more about that, a couple different options there. We are perhaps approaching in the next year or two a decision and some work on the water storage tank, and that's for folks in the water district number 1. And so we'll be looking at some cost estimates and see if this advances with the water board. Also composting, one of the things that we do, the many things that we do over at our recycling center that we were sort of leading the charge with is food composting. We've done it for years now. There's some discussion of a transfer of ownership of the service, and also whether or not the level of service should be increased. We'll have to go out and follow our procurement and get some bids for it. Even though it's a relatively small amount of money, that's of course a requirement. We spoke about taking advantage of another grant funded project, Pollinator Garden, 2 small ones in Rec Park East, and so I think we're at the point where we can make a decision on that. And we are reconstituting our Climate Smart Committee task force years after we first initiated it with a new leader, I understand. And so that's what we have on the agenda for tonight. Just a couple of quick announcements. Our Congressman Pat Ryan, as you know, he has a CARES van, which is designed to be mobile and assist folks and visit the various town and village halls and other municipal buildings to make the rounds to assist folks. It's Wednesday, September 10th, here in Tivoli at the library. Our two big fall events are coming up. Hard Scrabble, September 20th, obviously that's a Saturday. The following weekend, well, let me skip this. We'll get there. The following weekend is Tivoli's Street Painting Festival. That starts at 10 a.m. and you can reserve your squares in advance. Dutchess County is having a household waste event. You do need to register for that. That is coming up. It's a $10 fee on Saturday, September 13th, from 8 a.m. to 12:30, and that's at the fairgrounds. So that's very convenient for us. It's not often this close that we have a solid waste, hazardous waste event. Okay, the other thing I want to let you know, very popular event, and now in their 18th year, the Art Studio Views Tour. It's typically every Labor Day weekend. You can see that it has been extended in certain studios. You get to visit the artists in their studios and see some of their work, and they talk with you about how it is that they pull off the magic that they do. Okay, that's all the announcements I have, although Winnicke is here. I will, Jen, remind folks if they would like to volunteer. We have a very sort of informal September 13th, right, for the Green Trail, which is a portion of the Blue Trail. Am I saying this correctly? You
Not
say
quite.
it. Okay.
It's the new portion of trail that we built on the Sawkill Trails. So we're going to do a little grand opening, ribbon cutting, walk the trails and see the new pieces, and then follow that up with a volunteer work day to remove some invasive species. And that'll be from 10 to noon. I'm not sure.
10 to noon, again on Saturday the 13th. And I will forewarn you, if you come there, you will see lots of loppers and lots of gloves and even some machetes.
To help.
Right. It's a fun thing to do to help remove invasives, which really, unfortunately, are taking over in many instances. Okay, that being said, anybody else have any announcements to make? Okay, hearing none, we will take 15 minutes of public comments before we get started with the agenda. Is there somebody who would like to make some public comments? Okay.
Yes, I would, Robert. I read in the Daily Catch.
Albert, if I could just ask you to please
My name
state
is
your
Albert
name.
Trezza.
Thank you.
77 West Curly Corners Road, right up near Tivoli, New York, 12583. I read in the Daily Catch that you were blaming the town, the boat club, for the cost, legal costs that you expended, and on this amendments to the zoning law, the lawsuit involving and everything else. Robert, we did not cause this. You caused it. Your board caused it. You chose to amend the zoning law, striking out marinas, thereby reducing the value of the boat club, while you were carrying on a hidden agenda to take it by eminent domain, which you come out a month later and did. And you voted to take it by eminent domain. What did you expect us to do? What did you expect the boat club to do? Roll over and play dead? Say, oh, thank you, Robert, for stripping us of our private property? Then shafting us on a price at the same time? No, Robert, you're at fault here. And you, Jacob, and you, Willie the Moocher, who mooches off his neighbors, are equally complicit in it. This isn't even slick. I mean, you have a reputation for being slick. But let me tell you something. It's not even sleazy. It's diabolical. It's diabolical. It's evil. Furthermore, on top of that insult and injury, you're using my tax dollars, the boat club's tax dollars, to fund this lawsuits against us. And on top of that, we're paying tens of thousands of dollars out of our pockets to defend ourselves. No, you better retract all that crap about blaming the boat club. You are responsible for these expenses. That doesn't even include amending the zoning law. You didn't include those expenses, and the court told you were wrong. You were wrong. You segmented the seeker to hide the fact that you're going to take the boat club by eminent domain. Do not accuse the boat club of anything, Robert. do not accuse it of anything. And I hope the Daily Catch is going to repeat just what I said. Okay? They're stripping us of our private property and at the same time shafting us on the price. So pay attention and please make sure that gets out. Thank you.
Thank you, Alvin. Anybody else like to? Just as a reminder, we have 3 minutes for each speaker.
Lisa Polero, Jefferson Road in Red Hook. Robert, your emailed statement to the Poughkeepsie Journal last week read in part, at this time, the Boat Club has a deadline to file a lawsuit, which they indicate they intend to do, challenging the town's determination to have public access to the river. You know that is not what they are challenging. It is patently false, meant to mislead the public about the very crux of the issue, and prejudicial against the Boat Club. That's an odd way of, as you further stated, continuing to reach out to the Boat Club in an effort to avoid litigation. Do you characterize all riverfront owners protecting their property as challenging public access? The public has access to the river. Beautiful views from Poets Walk, access for kayaks and canoes at Tivoli Bays, and the well-known boat launches to the north and south of us where they willingly share and welcome Red Hook boaters. I believe Bill refers to that as mooching. The Journal wrote that the town sees the eminent domain action as an equity issue, and Robert added, we've said from the beginning the objective is not displacement, but rather opening up the property to more than just 100 members. And on July 15th, you said, for me, equity is an issue. 3 law firms charging up to $370 an hour are under contract with the town, and not one of them has explained to you that eminent domain was not created to address equity, and that there are documented cases where it actually resulted in inequities. Jacob, you have a law degree. You could have given him that information for free. Jacob, I also learned that you're the Associate Dean of Civil Rights at Bard College. I cannot be the only person that sees the irony in that you're working in tandem at the same time with the supervisor and deputy supervisor to deprive owners of their right to use and enjoy their property without government interference. And you're the government. I don't know how you reconcile that. It was only through FOIL requests that we learned how much has been spent through June, and we are sure to be shocked at the next set of invoices for an action that is not in need. You are using eminent domain to address what you feel is a social injustice, which it is not designed to do. And Jacob, you should know that better than anybody, but you still voted to proceed. The recent decision regarding Law 1 has put you between a rock and a hard place. Robert, you said the board will meet to discuss whether to resubmit the law with a couple of changes or to appeal. So with over $108,000 spent just through June, you think those are the only 2 options? And that amount, as Al said, does not include what was spent developing local law 1. The public is now acutely aware of the exorbitant expenditures by this board, and your 2 options will take months and untold amounts of money. The prudent option is the one you failed to mention, abandoning this ill-conceived, unnecessary action that has only enriched several law firms and the planner.
Thank you, Lisa.
Roxanne Fisher from Barrytown. I'm following up on Lisa's comments. Okay. Good evening, Town Board, especially Council Member Testa and Deputy Supervisor Hamill. I am outraged and heartbroken by the division and financial devastation your July 15th vote to seize the Red Hook Boat Club has inflicted on our community. I sent personal letters urging you to rescind your vote, citing Judge Rose's ruling annulling Local Law 1, and my complaints to the New York State and Dutchess County Controller's offices were attached to those letters. The town clerk acknowledged receipt of my letters, as did the New York State Controller, Dutchess County Controller, Dutchess County Executive Sue Serino, Senator Pat Ryan, and Governor Hochul's office. Why have you, Testa and Hamill, not answered me and just ignored my emails? Your silence fuels distrust and disappoints the residents of Red Hook tonight. I implore you to reflect on these costly missteps and rescind your vote to stop this divisive fight. Judge Rose's ruling struck down Local Law 1 as retaliatory, and as we've heard from our attorney, the town exceeded its zoning power by targeting the club's operations, and violated SECRA by hiding its park plans, which aren't permitted in the waterfront zone district. This confirms a, quote, single integrated plan to displace the club and shows your retaliation. My controller complaints detail more than $110,000 in unauthorized legal consulting fees with ongoing costs, exceeding budgets without public votes, violating Town Law 64. No budget fund source for this $1.25 million plus project was disclosed, breaching Public Officers Law 87, nor have any financial costs been revealed to Red Hook residents. The board ignored 92.4% public opposition, as we found in our FOIL records, and 6 LWRP program inconsistencies, risking wasteful spending under General Municipal Law 51. Councilman Julia Solomon and Christine Kane voted no, honoring residents' opposition. You, Testa, and Hamill can rescind your yes votes. A motion to rescind requiring majority can be made by either of you as original majority voters, since the action has not finalized. Considering 2 pending lawsuits and years of costly litigation ahead, please use your ethics, morality, and critical thinking to analyze these obstacles, including illegal zoning, SECRA violations, soaring costs, and near unanimous opposition. Rescind your vote to respect private property and save taxpayers from the enormous costs of this reckless fight. Red Hook deserves transparency and unity, not retaliation against a 70-year-old institution.
Thank you, Roxanne. Before we get started, if anybody else, Nancy, would you be kind enough just to tell folks your name, please?
Nancy Rogers, I live in the village, 7659 North Broadway. Dear members of the town board, I'm speaking today as a concerned citizen regarding the critical need to prioritize the rehabilitation of our town's water tank, as detailed on pages 58 to 62 of tonight's board packet. Since 1999, the tank has received only minimal maintenance, leading to serious concerns about its integrity, safety, and water quality issues, page 58. The proposed rehabilitation options carry probable costs ranging from $1.6 million to $4 million, significant but necessary investments to ensure clean, safe drinking water for all residents. We cannot ignore the lessons from the village's recent water issues and fines, which highlight the consequences of neglecting critical water infrastructure. In contrast, allocating millions of dollars to eminent domain acquisition of the boat club, which is not essential and would cost millions of dollars, is an unwise use of taxpayer funds. Our priority must be safeguarding public health and avoiding costly penalties by addressing the water tank's urgent needs. I urge the board to direct our resources towards this vital project that benefits every resident. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Nancy. We have time for one more speaker, if there's somebody else who would like to speak. Okay. I want to thank you all for your comments. We are going to get on to the agenda. I did want to just respond to some of the remarks that were made. First of all, as far as the legal costs, I just want to remind the voters that the lawsuit was brought by the boat club against the town. The town is expending funds and defending the passage of the legislation. It's what we do all the time. You wouldn't have legislation, you wouldn't have code, you wouldn't have enforcement if you didn't defend it in court. So we will accrue and continue to accrue legal expenses as we continue to be sued. I believe that there were 27 lawsuits against the city of Kingston by the Bender family, the same attorney, something in the neighborhood of that. We anticipate having more lawsuits against the township. There's nothing we can do about it. If people want to sue us, we do have to expend funds. We do have a municipal insurance company who will be covering some of those costs as well. But just as a reminder, one way to keep the cost down is not to have us need to engage our attorneys, which brings me to the other ruling that came out of the court, which was the town's challenge to the petition, or that was related to the Cookingham affordable housing, which was very necessary for this community. Affordability is, despite what some candidates for office not realize, affordability is the #1 issue for this community, and we spent 2 years and roughly about $3.4 million worth of grant funds, and the Boat Club chose to try to thwart that by putting forth a petition that had signatures from people outside of the town of Red Hook, forcing us to have to challenge it because we can't have people who live outside of the town of Red Hook making these types of decisions. It didn't meet the minimum standard for the law in so many respects, that petition. And we accrued some expenses associated with that as well. We have said from the beginning that we would like to sit down and discuss the public-private partnership possibilities. Discussion. It doesn't cost anything to discuss. Always welcome to say no to any discussions and conversations. It's fact-gathering. It's trying to understand how we can make it work. It's what we do. You're going to hear about yet another project, public-private partnership that we do. We've done a ton of these over the years. So again, I would encourage you, if you are interested in discussing a public-private partnership, there's no cost associated with that. You can always say no. As far as the expenses and managing the tax dollars, I'm going to remind every time this issue is brought up, there's going to be a separate statistic with it. Last week, you heard me talk about how people pay 5% less in town taxes a decade after this administration started. 5% during the high inflation period. I remember a low inflation period when I was on the town board, the previous administration. And here's the headline from the year that I was on the town board. Tax levy up 23%, my predecessor proposed for the tentative budget. So we have done 80 some odd capital projects here. The one we're going to hear about, if we were to consummate that, would be something like 86. I believe there were only 2 or 3 in the previous administration, and yet there were these very high proposals put forth. So we worked very hard to manage people's tax dollars. You heard me list off certain things, services that we offer that are saving people even more money than they're paying in town taxes. So the more we continue to talk about how we are managing your tax dollars, we will continue to talk about how we are managing your tax dollars. But one of the best ways we can reduce legal costs is seeing if there's an alternative to sit down and discuss public-private partnerships.
Would that involve the whole thing?
In respect to that, Robert, no, in respect to that, you have always held the position that you want to own the property.
Albert?
No,
we have
don't say no. As
Listen
far as
to him.
Brooko's concerned, you're again denying the people an opportunity to be heard on this. You
Albert,
will not have
the
a
board has made
referendum.
its
Let the people
decision.
say
It's
something
not
about
a
this.
legal
No,
position.
you decided you're going to do it, and you're not going to allow this
Albert,
vote.
I thank you
Okay?
for your
So
comments.
don't
We're
tell me,
moving
Robert,
on.
a brag
We're
about what
moving
you've
on.
done. You've had a run-up of a double
I'd like to
the assessment rate in the town.
Thank you,
No wonder
Albert.
your taxes are low.
Thank you, Alvin. At this time, I would like to
I don't wanna-
invite the
I don't wanna
folks
talk
from
anymore about it,
Wenatchee
Robert.
Land Trust to
Stop
talk
bragging.
about their proposed project. Bob, I'm sorry to invite you at this time, but
That's fine. I actually emailed you a copy of the
Oh,
presentation.
okay, let's see if we
It might
can-
be easier for you to put it up
let's
that
see
way.
if we can do that, okay. I am going to just disengage for a second and let's see if we can do that.
Disengage for good. Good. He makes me sick.
Yeah. Just let me take it and you don't say nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
see, Bob, I'm not sure it came through.
Where was the attachment to
He lies.
I don't know about if it's gonna come through email, we can stick with the other one, or we can just.
We'll stick with the other one.
Stick with
The
the other
attachment might have been too large.
Apologies for that. Let's see, we're back in business here. Okay. First of all, you want to introduce yourself, Bob, and again, thank you, all of you, for coming tonight and making this presentation.
I'm Bob Davis, I'm the Executive Director of Westview Land Trust. And we're excited to be here tonight and share with you a project that we've begun in partnership with the Jonas Foundation. And we're hoping that we might entice the town of Red Hook to join us and turn a very targeted project into something much broader and that could benefit residents of the community in a number of different ways. And so what we're doing is we are, with WQIP funds from DEC, we're going to be acquiring from the Jonas Foundation about 142 acres of land that's currently referred to as Camp Rising Sun, and will continue to be referred to that. This is located at...
Can you use the microphone just for the
Oh, I
recording?
apologize, sure.
You can take it out of there.
It's located at Oriole Mills Road. And as you can see, there's about a mile, a little more than a mile of frontage on the Sawkill. And so this was DEC's priority source water protection area. And so the project is being done primarily to protect surface water quality and groundwater recharge areas. But we thought, hey, why stop there? We set a precedent with the Sawkill properties by Rec Park West, and we thought we might engage in the same type of project over here. The property is absolutely beautiful, and there'd be an opportunity to proceed with the town to acquire conservation easement on the property that would allow us to go ahead and improve it and turn it into a public recreational resource. And we've already been able to acquire significant funding from both DEC and Scenic Hudson. And for a relatively small investment by the town, you can leverage well over $1 million in additional grant funding. And so what we had in mind here was to, I don't know, Robert, are there more photos with this one? I can't remember what we had here.
Lots of them.
So this is located, if you review the community preservation project plan, this ticks off a number of check boxes on your plan in priorities, and it is located in an area of significant ecological resources as well as, I believe, even agricultural resources. What we're hoping to do, actually, if you could go to the next one, I think it's on that one. Yeah, here, this is a great idea. What we'd like to do is create a parking area here for about 12 cars. We'd like to create a picnic area, upgrade a picnic area here that could be used by the town. Put in a recreational trail system, multi-use recreational trail system with a possibility of upgrading that to ADA standards. And as well as rehabbing the existing wildlife platform on the viewing platform on the property, as well as adding an additional one at ground level that would be ADA accessible. And upgrading the parking area and the trail system and the connectors to the rest of the property. This is it in a nutshell. What we'd like to do is really kill two birds with one stone. Why stop at protecting just the water quality when we can create a brand-new public recreational resource at a part of the town that currently lacks that type of facility? So this is essentially where we are right now, and we'll be making an application to the Community Preservation Fund, and we'll get into more detail with that.
Terrific. And just to orient folks, the property, well, we have a lot of photos here going off of Oriole Mills. There's some existing trails, there's some open lands as well. But I'm going to go back to that first one. If you're watching at home, and I apologize if I'm making you dizzy.
We always do.
If you,
Yeah.
here we are. So it backs up. Over here, you're on Yance Road, and many of you will remember the Hudson Valley Wool Company is what Mary Gadesky operated her sheep farm and her related products. That adjoins here. On the other side, on the eastern side, you'll find the Redwood Golf Club. So just to give you some idea of where the property lies, it has a bit of a runway kind of a shape here, but it is an open field here. And I think we do have some beginning sketches, right, Jen, about where the trail might go. And so just for folks, again, this is just, right, initial, like, here's where you think it might go.
Exactly.
Right, so we don't, but there would be parking here down at this blue spot to orient you. We're near Oriole Mills Road, right there. The camp exists over here, right, for those of you who are familiar with the facilities there. And the trail would be much like Cookingham a little bit, a loop, and then an extension.
We probably move that back.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, you won't leave us there, right? Okay. Very good, and then you have a picnic bench area. All right, and potentially that parking would be 12 vehicles.
About 12 vehicles.
Right, and you're hoping to make this as much as possible ADA, or at least more accessible.
Exactly, and the idea would be, prior to doing that, we'd run our own little scoping sessions and have a few public meetings and decide, what sort of interest various people have in that. And if there seems to be a general approval, we would go ahead and try to access the funds to build the ADA accessible, to build it to ADA standards.
Standards, okay. Very good. And so this is very similar in structure to the project that we did on the Sawkill, but there might be some slight differences that, under the easements and so on and so forth. And I think that there was some discussion about the camp might need to use a portion of the property for a couple of weeks. I know they have a very small camp season.
They have a period of time during the summer where they would have exclusive use of a portion of the property, but the way we're routing the trails, it wouldn't impact public access.
Okay. Okay, it would just be for a portion of, am I in the right area? I don't know if I can get to it. Jen, where am I? Over here somewhere?
Yes, that whole field would be for the campers, and then
Okay.
the other field would be open for public access.
Okay, and so for a few weeks a year during camp season,
For 3 months, yeah.
it would be for 3 months then?
During the week, they're here, they can maybe explain more. So during the week, 9 to 5, I believe the timing is, Monday through Friday, that portion of the property would be closed for the public, but
Okay.
open to the campers, whereas the other portion would be open to the public.
Okay. And are you thinking in terms of some fencing or something to help?
You would have a
delineate?
gate, yeah.
You would have a gate.
But it would be available on the weekends.
It would be available.
It would be available
Yeah.
because the camp doesn't offer it. Okay. Very good. Any questions, board members, on the project?
No? Good. Lots of information in the packet, lots of details.
So until we have appraisals, we won't get a sense of what we're looking at, but probably in 350 to 400 for our portion of it or something.
Something like that.
Okay.
Might not be as high as 4, but
Okay.
we'll look at that. Basically, we're looking at a project that probably would, if you were to do this by yourselves
Yeah.
and acquire the property, we're
Yeah.
looking at, $1.6 million or 7 million to do the project.
Yeah,
And so we're able to leverage a lot of external funding
right.
and make it a pretty good investment, actually.
Well, that's been the success of the CPF, is how much we are able to leverage it with land trust efforts or land trust money or county, state, federal. One of the things that we're so proud of is how much protection we've done with the CPF. It allowed us to make offers in Barrytown, but also protected most of the farmland in West Curly Corners and other places throughout the town. So another issue that was divided in opinion. In fact, that referendum only passed by 33 votes, I think, back in 2007. I remember it well, but it's had profound positive impact on our community, and without this, we couldn't even be having this conversation right now. So, very good. Any questions? No. We're all pretty familiar with the property. Maybe a site visit?
Yeah, we could organize that.
Okay. Great. Wonderful.
So the next step would be the application to the CPF fund.
Right.
Yeah.
And they may do a site visit, so we might be able to coordinate with them.
Yeah, that's a possibility. I think we will need to, at some point, have an estimate of cost, because that's something that will be part of that application to the community. And then you're thinking sometime end of year-ish, maybe?
We're going to push real hard to try to close this by the end of the year.
Okay. But it's a state project, and we're all...
And you're very well familiar with how...
We are all very grateful to the state and patient sometimes, but, okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bob. Thank you all. We'll be back with more. This is very exciting. It's very exciting to get these trails in a different part of town as well. Most of our trails do hail from the western side of town, so this is great to have a stretch in this part of the southern portion. It's very quiet, very rural, beautiful property as well. Okay, moving right along, Sawkill Bridge to Rec Park. As you heard me mention, there are two, what I would call voids in the village-to-village trail. There was some discussion about how close are we. I'm sorry, this is all part of the draft application associated with that first project. All of these maps are available on the town's website at least 24 hours in advance. Okay, so we are designing the bridge with our engineers, locating, doing some test holes to see exactly, and obviously working with DEC to see exactly where's the best spot. We identified it roughly on the map, and we have some options of what the bridge materials might look like. And so I'll just put this up here, not being a bridge designer, not being an engineer, but Bill and I did meet with Brandy, and she did present to us some of these visuals. I think we'll put it out there for the public to take a look at, with one caveat: the price of some of these options may be less palatable than others, but certainly we can take a look at not only the visuals, but we'll be looking at how hardy they are, how durable they are, and how they will respond in the case of high floods, which we did experience back in Irene and Tropical Storm Lee, where the whole park was flooded out there.
That was my main question, is just making sure that whatever we invest in is flood resilient.
Yeah, yeah, we want the water to pass over, to pass through, so, you know, all of these options will be looked at for how well they will perform. For folks at home, we're talking about really a 50-foot span or so over the Salt Hill. It will deposit you along that track or very close to the track, the walking track, if you're familiar with Rec Park, for those of you who do walk it. Some of the advantages, steel and aluminum, right, Bo, we heard were?
Well, steel rusts.
Right.
Aluminum is brittle, and it's also loud
Right, so there are some downsides to the aluminum.
and highly reflective of sunlight, glaring.
Right. But very resistant. Here's some other choices.
I assume that we can ask Brandy to make, you know, if we give her some criteria, you know, sort
She
of
is. Give us some
rural
ideas.
aesthetic, flood resilience, sort of low maintenance and cost, that she can come up with some recommended.
Well, she's
criteria.
given us this. I
No,
think
but
what
this
she
is
would
like
like,
15.
well, hang on, right, my point is, I think she would like us to narrow down maybe, and then she can go out and give us some cost estimates for that. Weathered steel, or we used to call Corten steel, right? Same sort of thing.
They're different.
They are different,
Corten,
okay.
actually, the rust actually protects the steel.
Right.
It's a very expensive product.
So that's different, this weathered steel you believe is different? Okay. Okay. Different railing styles. Obviously, we want to protect everybody that's on the bridge, so we'll go with spacing. We want to see what types of activities will be allowed on the bridge too. Will people want to fish from the bridge? If so, how do we incorporate what?
I mean, DEC does have some regulations about.
Do they? Oh. That's good.
It does, I think, mainly have with traffic and designation on the street. We check that,
Well, it's the Salt Hill, it's designated Class B.
yeah.
Yep.
I know people tend to fish in the stream already, I don't know.
They do, and there are some good spots when
Yeah.
you see where it's projected to go, there are some good flat spots right next to it, so presumably they won't need to, but people, my experience, and I'm not a fisherman, people love to fish from bridges, but we'll have to see. What's that? Because you can see them, right? You can see what you're not catching. One of the things that we'll look at when we look at the cost is, you know, it's projected to be 10 feet. One of the ways that we could maybe, you know, save some money is to look at an 8-foot width there. But we want to keep fishing, biking, people walking might keep in mind.
And do we want to be able to get like park maintenance?
Yes,
vehicles
oh yeah,
back and forth?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll have their quad or
Yeah.
whatever that will carry their tools, and that'll get you over to Cookingham
Yeah.
West, so they can do it, because right now they're going around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just as a reminder for the folks at home, we're doing bridge design this year. Hope to have that wrapped up. We do have a grant out for application for $300,000. You know, we don't know what our prospects are for that, but it's probably more likely that the bridge construction would happen. It would be optimistic to say in '26, and then hopefully '27, just to manage your expectations. And then we have to look at decking. Again, there's the issue with the noise, the durability. You want some gaps in between to make sure the water passes through. Composites are great, they're more durable. they heat up quicker, but where this is, we'll not have direct sun for very long. There'll be a little bit of clearing necessary, obviously. And then a grad bar, which obviously I think we'd want to have, right? Something for folks to hang on to. From the assistants.
Well, if we're doing ADA standards, we probably have to have one. Is it, I mean, depends on the height more, because I can't remember what we're talking about, the height of the railings and the sides.
I don't know if she's got a height yet, a design for it. I want to say that, oh, there we go, wait, 42 and something, horizontal, 42 inch, 54 inch. I think ADA is 40.
If we get 54 inches, that's too tall, so you have to have a railing, you have to keep railing for ADA.
Yeah.
I think we did, when we did the recorder for this, I think we did ask them to scope it as ADA, which I still have some questions about. I know that it is ADA compliant on the east side of the park. I know that there may be plans for the sort of Abraham Park section of the trail to be ADA compliant, but I don't understand why I would be interested to see the cost comparison if we're gonna spend a lot of money to create an ADA bridge that then dumps you out on a non-ADA path.
Right, right.
Maybe
Yeah.
we can bring it up to Randy or something.
She's gonna have to give us some price brackets.
Yeah.
By material.
Yeah.
So there'll be some that'll obviously be eliminated pretty quickly
Yeah.
from the discussion. We can narrow it down.
Okay. More railing types.
So we should just kind of review these and send our thoughts to you, and you'll put it all together for Randy?
Yeah, and I think for the public, if you want to take a look online, we'll put this on the front page, take a look at the options, and again, would remind you, just keep in mind that some of these options may be cost prohibitive, so if we don't choose your favorite out of 15, don't be surprised. Okay. Very good. Let's move on to the next item on the agenda. It's continued discussion. Bill, we had a meeting on the brine equipment, and there were a couple of options. As a reminder, we received a grant for $250,000 towards the equipment. Here are some of the elements of the equipment and some of the options. And Bill, do you want to, so I can stop talking for a second, just explain to people what the difference between option 3 and option 1 is?
It has to do,
So 1 gets you down to a lower temperature.
sure, right.
You get down to 15 degrees, I think it is.
That's option 3.
Right.
Yes, it's about the effectiveness of the brine on the roads.
Right, and that's the hopper with one.
And option 1, I mean, I asked, they said 15 degrees for option 3, but when I asked about option 1, they were talking basically 31, 32 degrees, which is not a lot of leeway, especially where we live.
And but just to clarify, you're talking about the air temperature.
Yes.
That can be applied
Yes.
until it's 15 degrees
Right.
versus 31 degrees.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we want to be in a position where, you know, a highway super is struggling to understand what the temperature might be and whether it's going to be wasted or not. I mean, it just makes sense to be prepared for lower temperatures, pre-treat. That's the whole point of this thing, is that it takes at least some of the guessing work out of that storm prediction
I think if it's
aspect
closer to
of
32,
our
it's
job.
also a consideration that you're not going to be doing this if you're anticipating rain. So if it's going to be above freezing, it's closer to 30. It's not, it gives you such a narrow window for when it's going to be effective, so
Right.
going lower makes a lot of sense.
The other thing to point out is that when Teresa was given the information, at that time, that option 3 wasn't provided. So the funding and the costs that were projected previously
Didn't include.
didn't include that because she didn't know about it. So,
So is that likely to put the whole project over budget?
Well, we'll see.
Okay.
We still have the building to deal with, right? We need a place to put it, it needs to be a heated, a conditioned space.
Yeah.
So, we're looking at that, and what some of the options are, which is sort of triggering.
Is that covered under, is that considered equipment under the grant, or
That
just
is,
this?
that is part of the
Okay,
grant.
all right.
That is part of the grant.
Plus it needs water.
Water, electric,
Electricity.
HVAC,
Yeah.
all of
Yeah.
that, and where's it gonna go? And don't forget, we have master planning to do for the
Right.
campus. We acquired the additional acre, which they're utilizing. The salt shed's gonna need attention soon.
Salt already?
There's already a master plan, a comprehensive plan drawing, at least for discussion purposes right now. So all of that needs to go into, unintended, the hopper. Okay. So, more
Option
on,
3 would be the,
makes sense?
our first choice.
Yeah.
If we can make it all work.
Yeah. Yeah. Go down to 15, okay. All right, water storage tank rehab. So, as you know, I think it was mentioned earlier tonight, the water board has been discussing off and on for the last couple of years, maybe 3, 4 years, right, Bill?
At least 3.
The next action to take with the storage tank, whether or not it should be repainted or whether or not it should be replaced. And each time they look at it, there's different numbers and different thinking associated with it.
Right, but I thought the last report we had, they did the diver, and they found that the tank was in better shape
Yes.
than they had thought it was, and which made painting more possible.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's where I thought we left it off.
Yeah,
And that's,
and the
and that's
water-
kind of where we understand it to be now.
And the
But
sort of
now
water
we're,
board is-
now it looks like they may be trying to advance
With the repainting?
with the
rehab?
repainting. And so, before they go out and get bids, they have rough estimates.
So there were some issues, part of the reason the price keeps going up on the repainting from several years ago is
A
obviously.
little louder.
Oh, I'm sorry, part of the reason the prices escalated on repainting, I think when we first started looking at this several years ago, they were looking at about 1.2, 1.3. And obviously inflation, cost of materials, labor is a big one. And there's some aspects to repainting a tank that I was unaware of at the time that have additional costs that aren't really as transparent. One of those is that when you repaint a tank, it has to be drained, it has to be dried, and at that time, any kind of rust, any kind of issues on the interior have to be treated, and it has to be inspected sort of as it's being done to make sure it's done before you actually apply the final coating. At that time, you don't have use of that tank. So you have to bring in basically flatbed trucks with what they call a bladder, or several, to provide water. And one of the issues and topics of discussion, we are the backup water facility for Bard College. And the question is, can we have enough water using that system? Because that could take us offline for a month, realistically, maybe 6 weeks, depending on how the coatings dry inside the tank. And they actually have to have somebody sits there, and the people joke about watching paint dry. Well, they actually do watch paint dry to make sure that it's done correctly. And so for a period of time, there's the issue of having enough water to deal with the issues that we have to deal with. When you replace a tank, that's not a problem because you just basically erect a tank next to the existing one, turn one off, and then fill it up, and then the other one gets removed. But one of the reasons the water board, and I think the public should know this, initially, early on in these discussions, when I was attending meetings, they were talking about a replacement. One of the reasons that they have switched their thinking to actually refurbishing the tank is that many of the coatings and things that are used, epoxy sealants to fix, as well as the condition of the tank itself, those kinds of things last much longer than they used to. They used to say, well, we'll give you 10 years additional life. Now they're looking really realistically, 15, 18 years. So it gives the town time to engineer, obviously the tank would have to be replaced at some point. So, but it gives the town time to properly engineer and figure out financing, because replacing a tank is close to $5 million. And so, if you can get a lot of life out of this tank, and that's the belief from the divers who went inside and looked at it, it was much better than they had anticipated. There are some other upgrades to the tank that they need to do that can be installed, pieces of equipment that didn't exist at the time it was built. But those are $75,000 for what they call a blender and some other things. They feel good about this option. And they're experienced, and they're people who work in this industry, so that's.
So at this point, they're just sort of providing us an update, or?
Yeah, an update and giving us sort of a heads up of what the cost might be associated. And for the folks at home, just a reminder, all these expenses, this is what's called a special benefit assessment district, water, sewer, central. Only the users pay for the costs associated. So if you're not in the water district, number one, these costs are not something that are borne by you. The cost is projected somewhere, I think we can safely say, up to 1.8 million for the repainting. The new tank, 3.44, maybe you have some additional, and then the total project cost is about 4 million. Of course, the longer this takes, the more that number can go for replacement. What they were thinking about in terms of they were going to use out of their reserves $400,000 reconstruction reserve. They wouldn't use the transmission reserve that's set aside for the pipes to get to the various locations. So that would leave about $1.4 million in borrowing that would need to happen for the project. Again, these are just estimates. Until you go out to bid, you really don't know what your cost will be. Yes, ma'am.
Asking the engineer to prepare specs so that you could go out to bid, but you also need to, I guess before that even, go through your, proceedings process for the district improvement, because it's a little different than the prior plan, which would be a straightforward public hearing and then a bond resolution.
That's right.
To authorize the improvement. So you have to decide if you want to start that process.
I think we're still waiting on the water board. Bill, correct me if I'm mistaken. I think we're still waiting on the water board to formally make this recommendation.
Yeah, I
but
think
they're now.
their next meeting, I think that's when
That's going to happen. And when is that scheduled for?
Well, actually had been scheduled, they met quarterly, it was supposed to be last week, but because of Fair Week and everything else,
Okay.
it's been put off. It'll be sometime in September.
Sometime in September. So Chris, maybe look for this in a couple of meetings or so.
Yeah, the other thing to consider is that when you're doing this kind of refurbishment, it's seasonally based.
Right.
So, you run out of time if you don't
Right.
get going on it soon for planning and putting it out to bid and those things.
Are they picturing that they would be able to get it done yet before winter, or would this be a
Oh, next
2026
year.
project?
Oh, no.
2026.
No, it's the
I
next
said that
year.
seemed very fast to me.
Yeah. Next year, and again, talking about the season, and
Yeah.
Bill mentioned that, they want to time it maybe when BART wasn't
Right.
being
There.
extensive usage,
Right.
and I would like to add that BART is going to be asked to contribute towards this project because it benefits them as well, and they're well aware of that. So we'll see what type of contribution we get towards the cost of that as well. Okay, so that's just updating folks, preparing, and yes, Chris, we will probably at some point need that bond resolution. But let's get a better handle on timing for that. I think given what they have in reserves, you know, I don't see them needing the money until late spring, if that, you know what they're.
Well, we have to go through the proceeding and you
Yeah.
couldn't let the contract, you couldn't let the contract
Right.
until you, right? You could develop,
Yeah.
potentially develop design, but you couldn't let it bid.
Right. Right, until we had until the resolution went through its process. Okay, so yeah, let's get that ready for maybe end of the year. All right, let's see, we have an email from Lori Urban. Lori's been integral to our composting program at the Recycle Center. She has proposed it years ago and really spearheaded it, and it's been super successful. And we see lots of municipalities joining in these types of programs. She sent us word that basically Ozone is passing on the business to one of their employees until such time we're going to have to continue our contract with Ozone, but sent a sample agreement. As I mentioned, we still have to follow our procurement and call around and get other bids. I'm not sure how many people do this, but we will call around and get anyone in the valley who's willing to give us a quote on it. It's ranging now $500 and something a month. The proposal is to go up to $600 and something and increase the number of bids by two, or 33%, from 6 to 8. And so we just need to know when we call around and get those bids. Are we doing 6 or are we doing 8?
I was at the transfer station this morning, I was with TJ.
Okay.
And what he advised was that on Saturday, they actually had to send some people home with their food waste because the 6 bins were full. It's obviously it's a very popular program. People bring their bins, and when they do deliver the compost back, it's obviously a very popular product. It's free and it's really quite rich. So, but TJ seemed, who manages the transfer station, seemed to indicate that he thought that we're ready for 8.
Okay.
And also in Lori's memo, she talked about how the village will be starting, and there will be sort of an additional buzz about the program, and that we can sort of cross-refer if people are interested in the village but are town residents, that there may be more demand through that channel. It makes sense to me, particularly since they seem to be giving us a fairly favorable rate for the 8 versus the 6.
Yeah, I just did the math, and it's actually cheaper
Per bin.
If you use them. Obviously, this goes out to bid.
Okay, these are some of the services we talk about. We like to remind folks when we talk about the costs associated with living in the town of Red Hook. Something as simple as doing the garbage and the recycling here. If you don't get curbside pickup, many of us do, you're saving more money most likely than you're paying in town taxes. That one service, if you're sending your kid to the summer rec program, you're saving more money than you're paying in town taxes. If you subscribe to the first solar farm that we built in 2019, you're saving more money than you are paying in town taxes. This is another wonderful program that we offer at the Recycling Center, and we can't do it without the great employees that are there, and importantly, the volunteers who come up with these ideas. So, I want to thank them all for it, and obviously popular in the community. All right, so we'll go and we'll get some quotes on that. For 8 bins, yeah. It sounds like 8 bins, right?
Yes.
Does anybody want to stick with things like that? All right, we spoke at length about the no-cost pollinator garden project, 2 areas in Rec Park, near the water fountain playground, both sides of the pathways. Any other questions, folks, before we decide if we want to commit to this? First of all, I want to thank the folks that created this program, and obviously the funding. The project timeline would start, in theory, September 1st. The end date is 2027. Here's some schedule milestones. Questions, any further questions about it? Did you all have a chance to?
I guess my only question, and I think this was answered the last time, but I don't remember. You know, the rec department has been actively involved in these conversations, right? And so they're content with the placement, they're not worried about edge maintenance or anything like that.
No, this is gonna go right up to
Just
the,
right up to the path,
right up to
right?
the path, so there is no,
Edge on the lawn side.
right, on the one side, yeah.
And they're, are they gonna be responsible for the long-term maintenance of it, or is it gonna be this,
Right
this
now, there's
group?
volunteers.
Right,
That's very
as of now.
That's who's gonna do it. Okay.
Can't speak for the future, but you never know until you try. So far, we've had a good track record of volunteers sticking with these programs. Are we ready for a motion to authorize the town supervisor to sign this letter of commitment for the New York Pollinator Conservation Fund Grant Partnership?
So moved.
Thank you, Jacob. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Julie. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, unanimous. Again, thank you all for that. Climate Smart Communities Task Force, which was originally created, who remembers, 2012? Is that right?
Says 2019.
Okay.
Yeah, it was when I was on the CAC, so that sounded all right.
Okay.
2018, I think.
So it's a reorganization of the task force that existed previously, whereas the town created this Climate Smart Communities Task Force on January 8th of 19 in order to support the climate change action initiatives. Folks, if you don't know, we have a climate action plan, which I believe does date to 2012, has many recommendations. We talk often about our role is to implement the recommendations in these plans, and if you look at the climate action plan, you'll see things like a 2-megawatt solar farm was a recommendation, which is why it was built. And so the Climate Smart Community also allows us to get some additional grant funding, and it's being continued. The task force shall have 5 members to be appointed annually by the town board. Do we have those 5 for tonight? That's the question. 1 member of the Climate Smart Communities Task Force, who may be the chair, shall be appointed by the town board as CSC coordinator. That had been Laura Eusted, and we received her resignation today to allow for Jonathan Brady to serve in that capacity, and he has enthusiastically wanted to get this running again. Here are some of the things that the coordinator will do. Document the activities so that we get recertified. We were certified as bronze, I think years ago. Am I correct? Bronze, I think, yeah. Will serve as a liaison to us, provide regular reports, so it's really sort of an extension of the CAC, maybe supervision. Coordinate with Cornell Cooperative. Any questions about this?
I would just add that, I mean, you mentioned this, but I think staying current with this is important in terms of our ability to access state funding. Certainly has come up now in conversation around implementation of recommendations that might come out of the comp plan. So I'm glad to see it, being lively and ready to be reconstituted.
This is resolution number
59.
59. Thank you, Deanna, dated August 27th, regarding organization of Climate Smart Communities Task Force. And it's a CAC thing. So, Julia, Jacob, who would like to?
Yes, Jacob.
I'll move.
59. Who would like to second?
I will second.
Thank you, Julia. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. All right, we're on to committee and department reports. Christine, I beg of you.
I guess go first. It's a
I
short, it's
beg
short,
of you.
it's short report. Although, we joke about this, but, and I know I'm a bit of a broken record on this, but that's why I asked about the maintenance of the pollinator
Right.
birds, because we keep asking
So much.
our rec committee, our rec commission to keep doing more and more.
Mm-hmm.
And as they point out in their report, every month, that the parks are opening earlier and staying open later each year, which influences staffing and maintenance. So, on that, following up on that, there's obviously a lot of maintenance that's happening on a regular basis, and the scheduling for that, and thanks to the team for keeping all of that mowing and equipment maintenance and other facility maintenance going. Sort of major things we want to mention is that while somewhere, let's see, okay, so we have had, this is the report for August 11th. So the Summer Rec Playground, co-ed city games, co-ed sports camp, girls basketball, boys basketball, co-ed tennis, all ended on August 1st. Little League Baseball Clinic ended on July 11th, Intermediate Baseball Clinic on July 18th, and Girls Softball Clinic on July 25th. Non-contact football minicamp ended on August 8th, Field Hockey 1 ended on August 6th, and Field Hockey 2 ended on August 7th. The Youth Pool Party was held on July 12th and had 28 participants, and the Teen Pool Party was held on July 19th and had 22 participants. That's the summer, right? That's only some of what's happening. Rec Park Field fall scheduling is starting, and there's already working on Little League coach pitch, girls softball, and flag football, among other things that will be coming to. And of course, the school teams' use of the field will pick up now that we're back in school.
Okay.
Once again, we passed all of the Board of Health requirements for our summer program, so congratulations to the team on getting all of that done. Most recently, we had the Rhinebeck Legion Band concert at the lawn at the Linden Avenue Middle School on August 15th with almost 80 people attending. Plans are moving ahead for the installation of the memorial bench for Tom Gilbert. The funds have been raised, the bench is ordered, the slab is ready, so we're just waiting for the all the bench and the parts stuff for the installation on that. A couple of other things, we have an Eagle Scout project, which is really moving along for a baseball shed. John Kuhn sent around some photos of how fast that is going up, and should be, they're waiting for the doors to come on August 12th, but the trusses have gone up, the sides are up, really making fast progress on that. Also, I wanted to mention that there is a men's basketball league for the summer that started in June, and that was going to end this week, so that's adult programming that's also going on at the park in the summer. Once again, we've had some damage to the sound panels that were put up at the skate park. You might remember in an earlier report they were kind of painted, and now they've actually had holes cut in them, which is takes a lot of effort to make that happen. They're very thick, so they'll have to be repaired. That'll be a cost again to do that. And with all the use that the baseball fields get, there's a lot of repairs coming to that now as the next season gets going. So they've sent us some of the budget information for our planning for next year, for the cost that will come in for that, because the equipment, and I guess the prices of the equipment has gone up. So that's.
We've had our bean clay has been delivered and spread out. Fields are looking great. You're doing a terrific job. Okay, and yeah, I think we're gonna need to get one more camera. The skate park, unfortunately, the cameras don't capture that well, which is why that's the one area where we're still having
It's
issues.
kind of off by itself and lower, so.
Yep. So we'll have to get our security company to 19th camera. Okay. Water district, Bill, anything quickly you want to tell us about?
Sure, I attended the meeting this past week. They meet monthly with our operator. We are having some issues with our pump volumes in the 2 wells. We knew we had an issue with well number 1, which apparently over the past couple of years occasionally has had issues. And we had both wells rehabbed completely about 3 years ago, which is a process, and they were running fine, and now there seems to be an issue with well number 2 as well. The company that we're going to use to have well 1 rehabbed was supposed to come this past Monday, and then we contacted them, the water department contacted them about well 2, and so we're waiting to get an idea on price for what that costs. And the well, there could be some issues related to having to replace the actual pump. There could be some things, some costs associated with that. And the other thing that was, Claverack Pump is the firm. The other issue is that there is a 3rd well that was drilled a long time ago. And I think in my discussions with the water department, it's an eventuality that we're going to need to have a 3rd well. Even if wells 1 and 2 are great again, I think the issue is, that they're going to need to have that 3rd well. So they're going to take a look at that and see, is that well still a viable well to use, because it hasn't been used, or would a new well need to be drilled, which again is another expense. But, we are responsible for providing water to the water district users, and these are the kinds of issues that come up.
So we talk a lot about the aquifer. Do they have a sense yet? Maybe they don't know until this company comes. Are the issues with the well likely to do with actual water capacity, or more to do with sort of the mechanics of the well?
They don't think it's capacity, because the wells are actually rather shallow. I think 170 feet, and the others maybe 85, which is pretty shallow. When they had the wells rehabbed last time, inside the shaft of the well, there's a screen, and I saw the actual video footage of it. What happened is the screen, there's rock on the other side of the screen, and after some time it starts to clog the screen and it becomes to interfere, causes turbidity in the water. It's a little unusual for this to happen after 3 years, although when Claverack came in and they did look at what was done 3 years ago, it was done right. And so they had some thoughts about it could be your pump. And there are a couple of other pieces of mechanics that go into it. I don't think there's concern about the actual aquifer and its capacity.
Yeah, and I would add that, we talk a lot about the Cookingham project and the many activities that occurred there, farmland preservation, trails, and affordable housing, but we don't really highlight and remind folks that we did reserve 2 portions of land to buffer the water treatment plant so that it would be protected. Also, we reserved a little bit of land for the village of Red Hook so that they could drill a well, because they apparently will need to be doing that sometime in the not-too-distant future, so we made provisions for all these things as part of that preservation plan. Okay. Water tests, okay, building and zoning, who would like to do building and zoning?
Somehow I'm stuck
Okay.
again
Just,
as the liaison to the
just the
building.
facts.
But, yeah, fortunately, it's a shortish report, it doesn't have all the backup, but for August, which is not yet over, they issued 39 permits. They conducted 151 inspections, which is a lot, it's a busy season. They issued 33 certificates of completion or occupation. They did not receive any complaints, and it looks to be like almost $15,000 in revenue. I would point out and thank the building department because they are down a person due to illness, and so they've been short-staffed, and they're still cranking it out. So kudos to them, and thank you to them for all the work they've done.
Okay. It's been a good building year. And I understand Tradition has just 5 foundations to put in to finish the project. Going quite well. 5 foundations. I think their hope is to be out of there sometime in the summertime. It's going well. As they say in Italy, polizia. It's a very lengthy report. You can see all the incidents. July, 114 incidents, traffic tickets, 47. 20 incidents in Tivoli, 114 in the town, 1 arrest. Well, that's good, only 1 arrest.
I do want to point out that I got a text from Hildebrand, the lieutenant, who runs the department. And I often remind the public that wellness checks, there's always a large number of them, and it's a service that all police departments provide. Say, for example, you can't get in touch with a loved one or a family member, and they go out and check. He shared with me a text from somebody who is a relative of somebody who fell off a ladder in her home, and the neighbor across the street, who she's elderly, couldn't get in touch with her. And finally, they called the police, and they broke into the house, and she was unconscious and taken to the hospital. And the woman's relative contacted Pat Hildebrand to say that the doctor had said that, had they waited many more hours, that she would not have survived. And so it's really important for people to understand that, it's a sort of a medical service, but it's also just a service they provide the public so that people can be safe. And so if you can't get in touch with a loved one, even in another city, in another state, that's what 911's for. And our 911 operators here will dispatch to wherever it is in the country to try to send a wellness check out. It's a really important service provided by police departments, and I think it's often overlooked.
Thank you, Bill. I mentioned only 1 arrest, which is really remarkable. Good news, but as a community, we also have to be honest when we have some issues, and so you may have heard that there were 3 overdose deaths, right, in Tivoli.
2 that I know.
2, I thought it was 3, 2 or 3. The point is, just to make people aware, from what I understand, there was some fentanyl-laced cocaine. And so just put that out there, folks, if you know somebody who uses drugs recreationally, just make them aware of that was an issue not too long ago, just a few weeks ago. It's important that we let folks know. If there's anything we can do to prevent situations.
And the police are all equipped and trained for Narcan use. Bard College provides free training and Narcan for its facilities, and it's becoming something that's sort of more standard. in communities across the country, because it's pretty simple to use and it saves lives.
Okay, highway. Jacob, can we do a brief?
Yep. If I can give an overview. So Teresa shared some budget requests for 2026.
Okay.
Includes things like staffing, increase in parks hours. She noted there's some more detailed information at the end of the overview. It includes requested figures in detail. She notes that there's an inflation adjustment of 2.64% over the past year. There's data about usage for things like diesel, gasoline, salt, and sand as well. And then she lists a few pieces of equipment that she's interested in including for the budget for next year. She says to contact her directly with any questions or if you need any clarification, ideally to do so before the budget workshop.
And we've seen the trends over the years in her department and expenses, and one of the things we see a lot is the guys going out less for snow and more for trees down. And so you'll probably see some shift in the budget I proposed for your consideration in a month or so from now related to that, because that's where the activity that has increased a lot. Wind events.
And ideally with the brining equipment, we're using less salt moving forward. Those are the sort of things that can help reduce costs over time as well.
And can help.
And time as well.
Can help reduce the damage to the tree, which ultimately gets pushed over by the wind. Yep. Okay, highway, ag and markets, dog control.
We passed our inspection, that's good news. And I would say, you know, this is the first full year we've had our own dog control program, which runs parallel or in coordination with Rhinebeck. And it was good news. Kim Volpe is the regional animal health inspector for ag and markets, and she came to the inspection of the kennel in Rhinebeck. Present for that, provided us some good training, and there's going to be more training provided. There's some additional things that we're working on is to get the kinks out of mechanical billing issues and things of that nature. But the good news is that they're doing a good job, and people need to know that they are 24/7. So they do get calls at night, on weekends, from the sheriff's department, from the state police, others, about dogs that need to be picked up and cared for. So
Very good. I mean, I think that's all we have for department board and committee reports for this meeting. You have a piece of correspondence related to the school bus photo enforcement program, which was launched a few years ago through the county. They've renewed the contract with Bus Patrol America, continuing administering the program through 2029. It includes a revision to the revenue sharing formula that each municipality receives 10% of the fine revenue from all violations issued within its jurisdiction. This exceeds the requirement. Doesn't seem like much of a revenue sharing thing, does it? Bus Patrol estimates that no more than 3% of tickets will be contested. So the issue is who's going to prosecute these. To date, we have received $9,000 in fine revenue since January 22, so about 3.5 years. It's going to be modifying the formula. Any questions?
I mean, I guess I was curious whether we are hearing these cases anymore,
I think we are.
because it seems like there is somewhat of a backlog.
I think our special prosecutor's doing that, but I'll confirm that for you.
what is the cost to us for that versus the rest of the
Well, that's a very good question. I mean, we do normally have our special prosecutor here anyway, but I think it'd be nice to have a little bit of a rundown if we can go back that far and see.
Yeah.
All right, folks, I want to thank you all for joining us. I hope you enjoy the rest of your summer. I hate to phrase it that way. I want to thank you for coming tonight and sharing your thoughts with us. Also remind you that all of this is on the town's website. We'll be looking for your feedback as it relates to the bridge and other issues. At this time, I would like to make a motion that we go into attorney-client session. He says, tripping over his words. Is there a second? Thank you, Bill. All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everyone. Thank you very much.